All right, everybody. So I want to first of all say good evening to everyone. My name is Monica Reagor, and I am so honored to be with you today at the Female Elevation Summit. What a phenomenal platform. We've already had amazing speakers just sharing their story and giving us insight, and I'm just happy to be a part of the panel. And I want to start with just saying, if you showed up today carrying something heavy, I see you. All right. Maybe it's a diagnosis. Maybe it's a label that someone tried to put on you. Maybe it's just pure exhaustion that you've been dressing up as productivity, because I do it all the time. Like today, I'm tired. Whatever you've brought into this virtual room with you today, I want you to know that you are exactly where you need to be. All right. Today, I want to talk about something that I've been learning, living, and now building a whole book around. And my title for today's talk is that you are not what you carry. And I mean that with everything in me. You are not what you carry. Okay. So we all know this timeline or this quote, like she's busy, right? You've heard that. You've heard she's exhausted. But I know that for most of the time, I say she's calling it faithful. And I want you to sit with that for a moment. So imagine with yourself as this person. She wakes up early, she stays up late, she says yes when she really means no, because saying no feels like failing. And she's holding her family together, her career together, maybe her health together. And she keeps telling herself that if she just pushed through just a little bit more, she'll be okay. I wonder if you know who she is, or are you her? Because I have been her, and honestly, in some days, I am still her. So this talk is about her, but really it's for her, and it's absolutely for you. So let me kind of back up for a second and just kind of give you where I'm coming from about this diagnosis or this perception. And that is this. For many, many years, um, I struggled with my own health. And especially in my early teenage years, I was active. I played a ton of sports. Um, I think I played sports every season. So it was like basketball, track, volleyball. There was never a time where I wasn't active, but I tended to be the heavier set girl on the team. I was taller than most people, so I played, center and power forward. And then what I realized is that I struggled a lot with my weight. I struggled a lot with um, just not feeling myself, and my cycle was horrific. The amount of pain I experienced was crazy. I mean, if it wasn't for constantly being on this really aggressive pain management regimen of like the Tylenols and the Aleve and the Midols, I don't know if I would have survived my teenage years. And then we now fast forward into my adult years. So a few years ago, I received a diagnosis that I did not fully understand. I was apparently treated for the diagnosis, but wasn't completely diagnosed. And that was polycystic ovarian syndrome. And many of us know it as PCOS. And so when I was first diagnosed with it officially, my first reaction wasn't devastation. It was really confusion. And what does that mean, right? What do I do with this information? And why did anybody tell me sooner? I wish my mother was still alive because I have a ton of questions for her, but I struggle with that a lot. And just let me just unpack myself a little bit more. I am a governed risk and compliance professional. So things have processes. I'm trained to assess risks. I'm trained to manage information, protect systems. And yet, getting this diagnosis, I'm sitting here and I was like, I couldn't even get even access clear information about what was happening inside of my body. I felt like I was supposed to just lose weight, and exist and kind of deal with it because I'm a woman and figure it out or just push through it or keep going. And I don't know about you, but that sounds familiar. And so I understand there's so much that's going on in today's world and society. And what that experience did for me, it cracked something wide open in me because I realized that I spent my whole career making sure systems and processes had the right information that they needed to function. And here, where there's millions of women, explicitly like 7 million women in the US alone, so that's like 1 in 10 worldwide, who didn't have the information they needed to advocate for their own health. And so, together with my founder, we built PCOS Awareness Association, or better known as PCOS AA, and hopes to change that to be a place of resources and education. But before I get into the mission, I need to show you why the problem is much bigger than people realize. See, 1 in 10 women worldwide live with PCOS. And that means that it's not a rare condition. That is one of the most common hormonal disorders affecting women in reproductive ages. So that pretty much kind of like goes into like 70% go undiagnosed for years. Women are told their symptoms are stress related, or they're eating too much, they're eating too much sugar, they're not eating enough, or they're just lazy and not exercising. We're even told that their cycles are just irregular, so take birth control. They're handed a prescription and then essentially just sit on our way without really real answers. Did you know the average time to receive a PCOS diagnosis is 10 years? See, I remember in the beginning of this, I said to you that I was treated for it, but not officially diagnosed. So in 2003, my internal medicine doctor treated me for PCOS, but I wasn't diagnosed with it until 2014, which was over 10 years later, because I had a pattern or portfolio of symptoms that led to that. So that's 10 years of carrying something without a real name, 10 years of being told, well, you're fine when you're really not, 10 years of minimizing my own pain, discomfort, not brain fog, not feeling well, because people in the doctor's office didn't have time to really dig deeper. And here's what I've come to believe. Women are taught to minimize their pain. We are socialized to push through it, to not to be like too much, to smile and just carry it. Just especially if you're a woman of faith, you're to say pray about it and the Lord will fix it. But here's what I've learned in my journey, and I call it wise faith. I believe that wise faith says something different. Wise faith says you deserve to be seen, you deserve to be heard, you deserve to be whole. And so I want to ask you something personal right now, and that is this. Has there ever been a moment in the doctor's office, in the boardroom, in your own bathroom mirror, when someone looks at you or at what you were carrying and say, that's just who you are? Or maybe a doctor dismissed your symptoms for anxiety or stress, or you're depressed. Or maybe a colleague questioned your ability to do your job because you're struggling with brain fog, or you're not able to become laser focused in a meeting. Especially being a woman, we're already marginalized. Or maybe you yourself started to believe the labels that they put on you more than you believed your own potential. I had a moment like that. And quite frankly and honestly, to my own embarrassment, I believed it. And more embarrassingly, I believed it far longer than I like to admit. And so I think sometimes because when we're tired, when you're carrying either a diagnosis or a loss of friendships or relationships, or a marriage or a career or a passion project or a calling all at the same time, it is so easy to let someone else's definition of you become your ceiling. But here's what I've learned. What you carry is not your ceiling. And that's where wise faith come in. So let me give you the concept around wise faith. And that's very simple. And I really want to be clear. I'm not talking about a specific religion or denomination. What I'm talking about is something universal, something every woman in this room, in this virtual gathering has access to. And that's wise faith. not a blind faith. Because see, it doesn't ask you to pretend everything is fine when it isn't. It holds truth in one hand, the real hard, sometimes painful truth, and grace in the other. Wise faith is not passive. It doesn't sit still and wait for things to get better. Wise faith, it moves. It takes the doctor's appointment. It sends the email. It starts the nonprofit. It actually writes the book. It shows up at this summit. It moves when the path isn't perfectly clear. Wise faith is not performative. It does not look like you have it all together. It doesn't need a highlight reel. It can show up messy. It can show up tired and still healing and be completely real. So wise faith is the kind that holds your diagnosis, your loss of marriage, transitioning careers, your doubts, your divided world, even your dreams, all at once. That's it. That's the whole thing. Wise faith is just your belief, your core values of who you are. And that's showing up in your authentic space. And that is the foundation of everything that I'm building. Building with our founder, Megan Stewart at PCOS Awareness Association, or building on my podcast called the Faith Flex Podcast, or my upcoming book called Wise Faith, dropping in the fall. It is just that. And so, although I have a little bit of time left, I want to leave you with these 3 truths, if I do nothing else this evening. I want you to hear all 3 of them, though. It's really important. Truth number 1, your body is not your enemy. Whether you're managing PCOS, you're managing another chronic illness, you're managing burnout, or a diagnosis that doesn't have a name just yet. Your body is not your enemy. Your body is not fighting against you. It's communicating to you. It's asking you to listen, and wise faith starts with just listening. So I can tell you, for me, for a long, long time, I treated my body like it was a problem to solve. And now I treat it like it's a partner. I'm learning to understand, right? What is it trying to explain to me? How do I feel today? Assessing it so I can acknowledge that there's either something going well or something that it's not, and I need to shift. And so when I figure out that I'm still learning to understand, that shifted everything for me. So truth number 2, your story is not your sentence. The labels that you've been given, the diagnosis, the disappointments, the losses, the limitations, all of those things are just chapters. They're not a whole book. Because you are the author, not the footnote. And if you're sitting here today on this virtual call or later, like the hard part of your story has somehow become permanent, I am here to tell you that is not true. Because the next chapter of your story hasn't been written yet. Because you are the one who holds the pen. And the 3rd truth, which in my opinion is my favorite, and that is you are allowed to rise, to get up absolutely whole. Now listen to me. I'm not saying not fixed, not perfect, not healed enough to finally start living, but to start living now and fight to be whole. So your health and your purpose is not about competition, but your faith and your ambitions are not in conflict. You don't have to choose between the 2. You don't have to choose between showing up for your calling and showing up for your body. Okay? So here's my belief, and it's really simple. I believe they both belong together, and you are allowed right now, as you are, to rise with it all. So here's the thing. Before I close, I want you to make sure that you leave here with something tangible, right? And that's because what we do, how we operate, how we show up. And I believe here at the Female Elevation Summit, all the speakers said the same thing. We don't just inspire, but we equipped. And so the first things first, if anything that I said about PCOS or polycystic ovarian syndrome really resonated with you, or Let's just talk about it. If you've been really quietly wondering if you or someone that you love might be affected with this diagnosis, then here's what I want to say to you. Please visit www.pcos.org because we have resources, we have community, we have support for women navigating this, and you don't have to figure it out alone. The second thing I want to leave you with is if you want to go deeper on your faith, beliefs, practical living, purpose, and the intersection of it all, then make sure you check out the Faith Flex podcast, wherever you're listening to your podcast, because we're having the kind of questions and conversations about identity, health, and bold living that most people are afraid to have out loud. And then third, which is like my passion project, make sure you subscribe to the Faith Flex podcast.blog because my book called Wise Faith is coming out in the fall, specifically in October. And I wrote it for the woman who's been carrying it quietly. So make sure you sign up, subscribe to the community, right? Because I want you to stay connected. So I want to leave you with this. You are not what you carry. You are who carries it and why you choose to keep going. The woman in this room, every single girl, every single teenager who has been told she's too much or not enough. Been there, done that. The one who got a diagnosis, bad news, life shifts, you lost a loved one, name it all, and didn't know what to do with it. Let me tell you, you are important. And to the one who's been so busy serving everyone else that she's forgotten to listen to herself. You're not defined by what you carry, but you are defined by your courage, your faith, your willingness to show up because listen here, for your body, for your purpose, for the women who are watching you rise, listen, that's you. So my time is up here. I'm super excited to have had a few minutes to hang out here at the Female Elevation Summit. Thank you to Pearl for creating this wonderful space and platform. So it's been an absolute honor. But my name is Monica Reagor, and you can find me on any social media platform outside of Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or again, if you want to know more about PCOS, please make sure you go to www.pcosaa.org, or just find me if you want a weekly encouragement on the Faith Flex podcast, because let's just be clear, life be lifing, and it's pretty difficult sometimes, but it's okay. And I want you and I to stay connected. So I hope this 20 minutes of encouragement empowers you for the remaining of the year, because you're not what you carry. You are the one that's carrying it. So do it well, do it proud, and be strong. And I hope I see you on the other side. Bye, guys.